I have recorded this voiceover so many times and I just feel like I can't get it right and I can't do our story justice. So I'm going to do one final recording, no editing, and just tell you guys a little bit about the history of Clayton and I, since that's what the story was supposed to be. So for this weekend, we had gone out camping. It was our last little getaway before the baby comes. I was about 7 months pregnant here. And we decided we were going to take our Suburban and take the seats out, put up an air mattress in the back, and just camp the two of us for a couple of nights. Clayton and I found this spot that he had gone to many times when he was a kid, and it was so special to him. He was so excited when we found it. I've never seen him light up and get that excited about something. So it was really cool to be able to share that with him. But let me tell you guys a little bit about how we met and our story to how we got from there to here. So in March of 2017, I was working as a waitress in a bar, and it was wing night, so very busy night at that point. And it was also a hockey game, so it was like double busy. And I was closing this night, so I hadn't had Clayton's table since they got there. I hadn't served them their food or anything. But towards the end of the night, that server was going home, so I took over their table. And Clayton's not a very talkative person, so we definitely didn't engage too much at the table. But he was with his friends, we'll call them John and Jane, who are a couple. And John is extremely talkative, so I did spend a little time hanging out with them, but honestly not much. That night wasn't really memorable until right at the end, and I was standing over at the bar. They might have been our last table. There was hardly anybody left for the night. And I was standing over at the bar talking to a coworker when Clayton came over and he stood next to me, and I looked over at John and Jane, and they were arguing very loudly and actually started throwing glasses at each other. So my manager went over to, discuss with them the rules. And I turned to Clayton and I just said, "What is their problem?" And he said, "What? You've never been in love?" And I laughed at that, thinking, haha, what a funny joke. But we'll talk about a full circle moment later in the story. So after that, it was pretty much time to close up. They headed out and we shut down for the night. And I didn't see him again until a few weeks later. So I was at the bar again. This time I had just gotten off work and I was actually having drinks with somebody else, and I had gone to the washroom, and on my way back to the bar, I saw Clayton and he stopped me and we just said hi really quick. At this point, I couldn't even remember his name. And after I said hi, I turned around and the person I was there with had actually left. So I guess that upset him. So then I decided to go home, and that was just kind of, another little interaction we had. And then a few weeks later, so at this point it's like the middle of May, and I'm closing up this night. I wasn't closing, so I was just working on the second bar, and I was closing a little early. And while I was shutting down, I saw Clayton and John sitting at a table. So I ran over to them and I said, "Do not leave. I'm almost off work. I'm going to come hang out with you guys." And this was mostly because I wanted to get to know Clayton, this guy who was super quiet, but he just seemed so gentle. I don't know, something in his soul, I swear, you can see it in his eyes. So I got off work and I hung out with him for a bit. Now, Clayton is not a social person. He does not want to talk to strangers. He does not want some random girl interrupting his guys' night with his friend. But I insisted, and I remember partway through the night, I finally gave John my number, and I said, "I want you to keep this, give it to Clayton if he decides he wants it," because he was not asking for my number. And as we got to the end of the night, I just remember thinking to myself, okay, this guy is so not interested in me. I'm going to leave, and I'm never going to see him again. So we were heading out the door, and Jane had come to pick up John, and I was starting to walk home because I would walk to work every night. It was only a couple minutes. And as I turned to leave, I hear Jane say, "Oh, are you ready, Clayton?" And he said, "No, I'm going to walk Emily home." And I thought, oh my gosh, he has a crush on me. He's gonna kiss me. So we took the 5-minute walk and we turned it into 45 minutes, and we talked about everything under the sun. And I remember thinking, there's something so different about this guy, so genuine, so sweet. I was infatuated instantly. And we get to my house and he says, "Have a great night," and he turns and leaves. And I thought to myself, oh, okay, well, I guess he was not interested. He was just making sure I got home safe. So then a couple weeks later, I get a text message, and it's from him, and he asks if I want to hang out, and I keep making excuses, such a busy person. So he decides that he's going to come to work every night to walk me home, because God forbid I walk home at 2:30 in the morning in the dark and something happens. So I started walking to work every single opportunity I got. I didn't care how cold it was. One night it was pouring rain when he walked me home, and he gave me his hoodie to wear, but it did nothing because we were both totally soaked by the time we got there. And that's how we spent the first little bit getting to know each other, was just through these little walks home from work. And then I remember one day he texted me. He'd been texting me trying to get me to hang out outside of these walks. And I kept making up excuses, and he texted me and just said, hey, look, you're obviously super busy. Let me know when you have time for me. I'll stay out of your hair till then. Which, of course, at that point, I said, no. I have so much time. Let's hang out. And I was going out of town for that weekend. So I said, when I get back, we'll hang out. So I got back, and I was out on a run. I had bronchitis at the time. So run and bronchitis actually do not mix. And I couldn't breathe to save my life. So I texted him and I said, hey, I did something really dumb. Can you come pick me up? I can't breathe. So he came and he picked me up, and we went on a walk. But this time we headed out of town, and we walked down along a canal, and it just felt more personal, more intimate. And I thought for sure, oh my gosh, the sun is setting. We're enjoying our company. He's going to kiss me. He did not kiss me. And so I thought he must not be interested. He must just be looking for a friend for real. And he had kept telling me, whoever I date next, they have to be my best friend. Like, I want to be so sure that they're who I want to spend my life with. Also, just to butt in for a sec, this water was so cold, it literally knocked the wind out of me when I slipped and almost went under. So I figured, why not just go all the way under? But that was the beginning of when we started hanging out outside of the walks.
Good girl.
We spent summer 2017 getting to know each other, and then November 2017 rolled around, and something extremely traumatic, I guess you could say, happened, and it kind of solidified our decision to want to spend time getting to know each other a little more intimately. So we decided to commit to a relationship. So at this point, we'd been seeing each other exclusively since June, but we didn't make it official till November. So there you go, officially dating November 2017. And those first 2 years were a challenge. I am not very easy to get along with all the time. And Clayton's very good at calling out what needs to be, sorted out, what people need to work on. He won't let people treat him less than he thinks he deserves. He spent too much time doing that. So he was very quick to call me out. And in 2019, I told him he needed to go to therapy. So he started going to therapy. And then he told me he thought I needed therapy, to which I told him, absolutely, I do not. But I will go to therapy with you. We can do couples counseling. And we did. And our therapist basically told us, no, you guys just need individual therapy. Like, your relationship itself is fine. So that's what we did. I took his advice, and I decided I would start going one-on-one on my own. So we both did that for a long time. And from December 2019 to March of 2020, our relationship struggled. I don't even know if you can call it a relationship. It was really hard. We spent most of it just trying to keep things consistent and normal for the kids, because we both knew we wanted it to work out, and we didn't want them to feel the effects of what we were going through, and especially if we were just working towards making it better. So that's what we spent those months doing. And then March 2020 rolled around. We had just gotten back together, and the pandemic hit. And I remember being so stressed, thinking, oh my gosh, nobody knows what's going on. Like, this could affect us. We're finally just doing so well. That would suck. But, it made us stronger, which is so cheesy, but it did. It really brought us together. And I think the reason for that is, up until the pandemic, I had been working 3 jobs, and I was in school full time, and then the pandemic hit and school wrapped up, and I quit 2 of my jobs because we could only work at one place. And I honestly think that's probably why our relationship got so much better, but I digress. This was the point where we seriously started considering marriage, and we had talked about it before. Also, look, Leah rolled in cow poop. Ew. We had talked about marriage before, And it was something that we had said we wanted to do, but this was kind of the point where we were like, no, you know what, it's time. This is what we're ready for. So I knew Clayton had the ring, and it was August of 2021. No, it was not, because we got married in May of 2021. So it was August of 2020. And Clayton is not an extravagant guy. So I had already predicted exactly how he was going to propose, and he did it exactly how I thought, words and all. So we went out to this field where we would hang out a lot, and we were sitting under this tree, and he was rubbing my back. And I remember thinking, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? What are we waiting for? And so finally, after a while, I said, let's go get Slurpees. And I stood up, and he grabbed my hand, and I turned around, and he was on one knee, and he held out the ring, and he said, do you want this? And I said, of course. And then we were engaged. Now, if you remember that first walk we went on along the canal outside of walking me home from work, Clayton and I had talked about marriage a little bit, just because when you have kids, it's like, well, why were you not married to your partner? And so we had talked about it a little bit, and I had told him about my dream wedding, and I had this big extravagant plan, and he said, I don't see myself ever getting married. That's not something I really believe in. And I said, that's totally fine. I always get my way. And I remember him laughing at me, but now we've been married for 2.5 years. So who is laughing now? Anyways, after we got engaged, we spent so much time trying to plan this wedding. I had this perfect June 5th date in mind. Everything was going to go exactly how I wanted. I'd had this whole wedding planned forever. And then COVID kept interfering. You know, we couldn't have any guests, and we could have 5, then we could have 10, then we could have 50, and then none. We could have it inside, we could only have it outside. And it was becoming really, really stressful. And that's when Clayton just texted me and said, let's elope. So I said, of course, I want to marry you, and I just want this done. I don't want the stress. So we decided to book a hotel room. We had my brother get his temporary officiant license, because that's free in Alberta. And his witness and my witness came down. We had it lined up with our photographer, and we ran away to Kananaskis, and we got married. We did it at sunrise so that we would have the rest of the day and the weekend to enjoy each other's company and just enjoy, you know, our marriage. Eloping was the most magical thing ever. It was the best decision we could have made. There was no stress behind it, and I would do the same thing over and over again if I could. All that said, there is one little story about the elopement that I want to tell you guys, and I debated sharing this because I feel like I'm airing somebody else's dirty laundry, but it definitely impacted us, and it was a full circle moment. So at the beginning, I talked about how John and Jane had been quite angry at each other at the bar. Well, the night of our elopement, John decided to take Clayton out for some drinks to have a little bachelor thing, because they hadn't had the opportunity yet. So John and Jane had come out the night before with us, and basically the night ended in them getting into a huge argument. Jane spent the night in my room. John was throwing up in his shoes that he had to wear the next day. Lots of little things, and it was stressful, but it was a full circle moment from the day we met. We still went on to have a gathering with our friends and family, because they all did want to be involved and they wanted to participate. So we did that with them, but the elopement itself was so magical. I wouldn't change it for the world. And that's pretty much the story of us. Then we got married, and ever since then, life's just been cruising. We're expecting our first child together. I get a lot of questions about this. We have a blended family. So we have 2 boys, Clayton has 2 boys, and then we have Laura. And they're all basically the same age, and they're like the best little buddies. They do everything together when they're together. They are so fun to be with. So after the last 6 years of just the 5 of us, it'll be really interesting to see how the dynamic in our household changes with a new baby. But I think we're all excited and looking forward to it. And I know Clayton and I are really excited to get this new adventure on the road. Mostly me, because I'm done being pregnant. I don't know if you can hear in my huffy puffy voice, but I'm struggling. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This was honestly the most fun weekend ever. I would do it a million more times if I could. And I can't wait to go back next summer and bring the kids and enjoy it all together. And of course, bring the baby. Oh my goodness, next summer we're gonna have a baby when we do this. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you guys kind of enjoyed this story, and I will see you in my new video coming on Sunday. Bye!